What the hell is Sauce Sports or whatever that last call was talking about? What the hell is that?
Guys are from Free Love, man.
What's the motherfucking deal, man? Welcome to Sauce Sports. Today we're going to get into the five keys to watch when it comes to the Houston Texans versus the Indianapolis My Little Ponies. Yeah, I'm still mad about that playoff loss from last year. It's time to get revenge on that. But we're talking about 5 keys to watch. If you're not familiar with Sauce Sports is a Houston Texans homer network. It means we're talking all sports, but only Houston. If you want other than the Texans talk, this is primarily the Texans channel. If you want the other teams, make sure you go to saucesports.tv. If you want the Astros, Dynamo, Dash, Rockets, if you want all that other talk, shout out to Hector, man. Really been holding it down. I really appreciate that. But let's go ahead and get into it and make sure you're following all the proper social medias down below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for the freshest takes in H-Town sports. Let's get it. All right, so you've been around the sauce for long enough. You already know we go from 5 to 1. But before we get into that, I just want to let you know, man, hey, sauce requires fresh ingredients. The fresh ingredients are your feelings, your thoughts, your takes, your views, your comments, man. Make sure you hit that comment section down below. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Let's go ahead and get into it. Start with number 5, Brissett versus Billy O, or Billy O versus Brissett, however you want to look at it. Historically, these guys have not faced each other because they don't go fight each other. It feels not like an MMA match, but Jacoby Brissett has gone up against Bill O'Brien-led teams 3 times. Once, I believe, with the Patriots, twice with the Colts, if I'm not mistaken. And Jacoby Brissett has walked away from all 3 of those matches undefeated. This has more to do with just than Billy O and Brissett. Like I said, there's a lot of other players on the field. There's a lot of other moving parts and pieces. But this is just something I think Bill O'Brien should sweep under the rug. It's one of those little obscure records that shouldn't exist, but for some reason it does. This has been one of the backup quarterbacks that his teams have struggled against, and this guy's played for multiple teams again, like I said, had success against Bill O'Brien-led opposition. So it'll be nice to see if Bill O'Brien can finally overcome that. Now, if he doesn't, that's a much bigger situation than just Jacoby Brissett. There's a lot of other underlying factors you'll have to discuss with that too. But started off a little bit lighter, like I said, because there's some things I'm going to get to a little bit later in this video, so make sure you stay tuned. Let's go ahead and get into the 4th key right now. So the 4th key that I want to get into when it comes to this Texans versus Colts game, this AFC South divisional matchup. Some people may say a rivalry. Some people, well, depending on who you ask, may say it's one-sided. Anyway, respecting the running game, the last time the Houston Texans saw this Colts team last year, the only rusher to put up over 100 yards on this Texans defense, which I feel was a much better run-stopping defense at that time than it is now, was Marlon Mack. And Marlon Mack was not even thought of to be that guy. But playoff games took a lot of pressure. I guess you could say a lot of pressure off. Look, they were able to really kind of run the game out using Marlon Mack. The Texans couldn't do anything last year. So I think they may have some revenge on their mind, but you have to respect the run. I don't think anybody in the league is just looking at Marlon Mack as that guy. He's had some good games. I think he's put up about 4.7 yards per carry right now. But again, this is a guy the Texans have to respect because he's done it to him before with that Colts offensive line. He could be a problem. Again, I don't think this running defense is as stout as it was last year, and they're bringing back pretty much the same line that ran all over him, the same guy that ran all over him last season, the last time these two teams met, and playing in Indy, where the Texans have historically not had the most success. It's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. So respecting the running game is number 4. Let's get into the 3rd key to watch for this game right now. Key number 3. Injuries are not an excuse for this Houston Texans team. The Houston Texans have been relatively fortunate this season to be mostly healthy going into games. There's been a little bit of shuffling on the offensive line here and there, but I don't think that changed too much of anything. I know that Howard is now out and Roderick Johnson going to replace him. I don't think there's much of a drop-off. You can say what you want to. I don't think there's that big of a difference. But the key is Bradley Roby. Bradley Roby being out, the Texans, when he brought him in, he did his pressers and all that. Hey, the Texans brought me in to stop T.Y. Well, he gets injured the game before he goes against T.Y. Hilton. And generally, T.Y. has success in Houston. He does well in Indy, but more so the success is in Houston. So maybe by the next time we see him, we'll see if Roby is healthy or not, if he's going to be ready to go. But nonetheless, the Texans have capitalized, have benefited. You could say exploited. I would say exploited if they won them all, but they didn't. Against teams that have had a lot of injuries this season. A lot of the teams that they face have had key players here and there that have been unavailable. And I think that has boded well for the Texans and worked in their favor. So I don't want to hear any excuses from Texans fans, no matter the outcome of this game, whether they win or lose, if they'll just say that, injuries were the reason why, because the Texans have taken advantage and what goes around kind of comes around. They've been fortunate to be healthy up until this point. It'll be very interesting to see how they play. It'll be interesting to see how Indy attacks the Texan secondary, where there's been a lot of questions, especially with Jonathan Joseph in that T.Y. Hilton matchup. We know have been historically not voted the best in Jonathan Joseph's favor. I would still feel personally some way about that clown mask, and then what he did along with, we just talked about Marlon Mack in that last playoff game. I would feel some type of way. I don't know if he's built like that. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. We will definitely find out. And again, he's coming off the hamstring injury, so Jonathan Joseph may be kind of questionable. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But let's get into the second key right now as we're talking about the Indianapolis Colts versus the Houston Texans in this Week 7 AFC South Divisional matchup. So the second key, and some of these takes I get into a little bit more deeply. I'm going to be dropping the Patreon podcast for the Patreon subscribers. And if you want to chat with the Roundtable live during the games, whether it's the Texans games, even other NFL games, Astros, Dynamo, Rockets games throughout this season, make sure you become a Patreon subscriber and join the Sauce Sports Discord where we chop it up live. So make sure you become a part of that starting at the $5 Patreon tier. Consider joining, supporting the Sauce. But I want to talk about the Wizard Watson and putting trust in Watson, because we saw something happen last game against Kansas City that Texan fans have been saying should have been going on all along. We can talk about all the great games Watson's had, his rookie year when he played the Patriots and the Seattle game, and, we can talk about the Saints, we can talk about all these other different games. And that is trusting in Watson, putting the ball in his hands, and letting him make plays. And you see when the Texans have done that, I think this year, Bill O'Brien is starting to do that more, because you can look at it at that Saints game. He put the ball in his hands. You saw what happened. Defense just couldn't hold up. But you saw in the Kansas City game, he put the ball in Watson's hands. I think it was, 4th and 3, and I think they gained 8 or 9 yards. Excuse me. And put the game away. Trust in your quarterback. That is something Bill O'Brien has not been doing consistently, and these are the nuances of coaching that people don't necessarily want to speak on. You can feel however you want to feel about Bill O'Brien, but this is something that that historically he has not trusted his quarterback. I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but he's taking the ball out of his hands in crucial moments, put him in situations where it made it more difficult in crucial moments, like he didn't trust his quarterback. This year it seems to be a better connection, and he trusted his quarterback in that Kansas City game, and it ended up benefiting the Texans in a major way. So let Watson be Watson. Let the guy play his game, cater to his strengths. We talk about people who say, Watson holds the ball too long. You notice how when shorter routes are dialed up, he gets the ball out quicker. It's like almost half a second quicker, if not more so. But you got people out there saying, he holds the ball for 4 seconds, which is stupid. When you don't have anything open, guess what you're going to do? You're going to hold the fucking ball. And so I think that comes down to play calling a little bit. We're going to get into that more so, like I said, in the Patreon podcast. There's some things that I think people are overlooking, that people are kind of brushing under the rug, that I think is very integral to what's happening with this offense. I don't know if people are noticing or not, but in my personal opinion. But key number two is let Watson be Watson. Trust the kid. The guy makes plays. He's been a winner on every level. You can't say that so much about anybody else on this team. He's won it at the high school level. He's won it on the collegiate level. And eventually I believe he's going to win it on the professional level. Not too many people can say they have a resume like Watson on this team. This guy's a natural-born leader. Trust him, and I believe that the rest of the team will follow. And not only will they have faith in Watson, they'll have faith in the coach for having faith in Watson. But let's get to the number one key right now that I think you need to watch for, that I think is going to be very important in this game. And the number one key to this game, and it's almost like bookends, is can Bill O'Brien ball with the big boys? Is he trying to get big boy status? Because we've seen this guy, get kind of handled by better coaches. We've seen him get handled by better teams. I think the KC situation was the first game. It was a statement game at that time. But then you look at some of the things that were going on there, and you say, okay, it was a nice win. There were some advantages for the Houston Texans going into that game. And they took advantage of that, and they played a good game plan. But now, can he repeat that? Because that was an important game for the AFC, very integral. But now this is a divisional game, right? This is a game that considers your standing in your own division. I think has more implications when it comes to playoffs long term. And we saw 2 out of the 3 games, and almost 3 out of 3 had it not been for a slightly errant pass in Indianapolis last year. The Colts had their way with the Texans for the most part of last year. We can take that first win away. It is what it is. But the games that counted the most, the second game and the playoff game, the Texans got handled for the most part. The Colts kind of did what they wanted to do. We can talk about jumping off ball, offsides. We can talk about all these other things. But if you're dominating a game, if you're winning the way you should be, these little penalties and things like we saw in KC had a lot of penalties. but they didn't take you off the game plan. They didn't throw you out the game. White had an offside, I think a neutral zone. In fact, these things didn't cost you a game because you didn't put your team in that position. So it's time to see, can Bill O'Brien step it up a notch? Because right now Frank Reich has got his number and is taking advantage of him. And the few times they met, I think he has the winning record. Again, with Bill O'Brien being here significantly longer than that guy, it makes you question some things. If Bill O'Brien has truly turned the corner, it's going to take you having consecutive games, one, against winning teams, to prove that you belong in that conversation, that you should even be considered in that conversation. I still don't think he's quite there yet. It was a good win in Kansas City, but it's not like he has the resume. Those coaches who have that resume have done this consistently. One good game does not make you a great coach. And that's what a lot of people are like. It's good, be excited. Hey, I love the win. I love to see the fact that this could possibly be a page-turning moment for Bill O'Brien. This could be a possibility that he is stepping up. He's doing something different. But winning one game doesn't put you in the Hall of Fame. So as much as I want to get super excited about it, I need to see this put together consistently, because the beginning of the season so far, say the first 3 or 4 games, tells me something different than the last 2 games or so. And again, there's still some inconsistency. I'd like to see it put together well. This being a divisional game, it's worth a lot. I think it tells you who Bill O'Brien really is, and it just tells you if this Texans team has kind of gotten over a hump that bothered them last year, and are they trending in the right trajectory, in the right direction, if you will. So the number one key is Bill O'Brien. Can he put his big boy pants on? Can he put 2 of these games together where, one, we see some consistency as far as offensively, and we can talk about Atlanta, but Atlanta is, I don't really want to even include that game because it's a bad game. I mean, it's a bad team, I'm sorry. Can he put 2 games together against winning teams and against a team with a more so decent defense? Because you got to look at the games that we have won, that we have exploited. Those have been bottom tier secondaries that we've gone against. So against a better team, can Bill O'Brien do it? That's the number one key. We're going to get into the comment of the day. Stay tuned. Again, man, before we get into the comment of the day, make sure you're following Saw Sports on all the proper social medias listed below. Saw Sports HTX, Saw Sports HTX on Instagram and Twitter. Saw Sports, make sure you like the Saw Sports Facebook page. And again, if you want more extra sauce, make sure you consider going and signing up for patreon.com/Saw Sports to get more exclusive Saw Sports conversation and content. And shout out to everybody who has support. I appreciate all the love from all of you out there at Saw Station, man. But let's go ahead and get into the comment of the day. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's your boy Ed Honcho. Let's check it out. All right, comment of the day comes from, I hope I'm saying this right, Bo Duck. Says, love the energy, just waiting on the excuse train to roll in Monday morning. Now, this came from the Kansas City game, and I meant to talk about this way before, but it's amazing that you said it, because the only person who was giving us love that I saw, and again, like I don't really keep track of everybody, but that I saw was Whitlock. Speak for yourself. And then afterwards, he's proclaiming the Texans the best in the AFC. He thinks that they're better than the Patriots. I wouldn't go that far. I think we got to pump the brakes just a little bit to be the man. You got to beat the man. But, yeah, I mean, you saw all the commentary Monday morning after that Kansas City game. Again, a lot of people looking at the stat sheet, because honestly, that game should have been a blowout. We can talk about the drops from Fuller, Hop. We can talk about, just the fumble, things that happened that shouldn't have happened, that did happen, maximizing on opportunities and everything. But we're not even going to get into that. The win, it's a win. We know what could have been, but what could have been isn't what is. So, but what you did see is that everybody was basically talking about how the Chiefs lost. Some segments went on 10, 15 minutes, and they may have only mentioned the Texans 1 or 2 times. It was crazy. I specifically watched afterwards, because like I say, normally I don't watch the national media, but it was disgraceful almost. All they did was talk about, how Mahomes lost this, the gimpy ankle, the ankle, the Chiefs, and, Andy Reid. Not talking about what weapons they got back. Not talking about all the other positives that they had that they just did not execute. Not talking about the way the Texans dominated and, made them alter their game plan. But, it is what it is. Like I say, I'm proud of the Texans for that one. That was one I was on the brink early in the season. I would have said no. Like I said, right before the game, I gave it a Texans win on the strength of, I think Deshaun is just, he's reaching another level. And then when you're putting the pieces around him and calling the right plays, the man will execute. But shout out to Boat Up Man, comment of the day. Hey, Sauce Nation, I appreciate you watching. If you made it this far, if you want to become comment of the day, just leave a comment under this video or any video. Like I said, we try to check through the comments. And if it's a good comment or a good question, and, we'll try to put it in the next video. But I appreciate you you watching. It's your boy Ed Honcho. Shout out to Sauce Nation. Y'all be cool like y'all be cool. Y'all the freshest motherfucking ingredients in the world. Y'all stay saucy, and I'm out.
Perfect.